Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. It's your boy Kevin Thornton. You have tuned in to the Wellness Architect Show. Today is Monday, November 11th, 2018. It's a very chilly day in the ATL, but we can bear with it. It's better than the 90-degree heat that we've been having for so many days in a row. Today we're gonna have an amazing show. I've been doing a lot of black with the men, so now I want to do some black girl magic and show what the black women are doing in our community. First, before I do that, I just want to say thank you again to all our listeners who've been watching the show since day one, and all the new people that's been watching the show. Thank you to all our members watching from Africa, Ghana, and Uganda. Also, those coming from London, England, New Zealand, Ottawa, Canada, and all those in the U.S. Thank you so much for joining in, tuning in, asking your questions, sending your texts, all that stuff. We are greatly appreciative. We have we're working on getting our new people for January. So if those of you who have some ideas of people who might want to be good for our show, please reach out to me or Lotus, and we will try to get them on the show because we're gonna end it very well with some great shows. Especially the men's roundtable on December 16th, and also the Minister of Wellness will be on December 2nd. So without further ado, I want to introduce my co-host, Miss Lotus Riche. How are you doing, ma'am?
Hey Kevin, how are you? I'm great.
I
And
am
I
great.
see we have is that Deja Jones right
Uh,
there? Hey Deja,
It's me. Hi.
good to see you. Welcome.
It's good to see you always. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you guys for having me.
you welcome.
So what's going on, Kev?
Not much, man. I'm just making life happen. I need to call you this week. What's a good time to call you?
Anytime you call is good. I don't care what I'm doing. If I'm eating, if I'm sleeping, if I'm dreaming, I will wake up and apologize and still take your call.
I appreciate that. So I'm gonna call you this week because I want to talk about the tour for sure and everything
Awesome.
and everything else that y'all was talking about last week. So I'm trying to plan things for the end of the year and also for 2020. So I want to have a conversation with you. So
Okay.
with that being said, I want to throw it to you. I want you to give us a morning motivation, and also I want you to introduce our esteemed guest.
All right. Fantastic. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I saw Larry. I saw Quanasia, our folks out of North Carolina, Newark, New Jersey, and all over the place. Thank you for joining us. Our topic of the day, our inspiration to the nation, is this: self-talk. Now, some of you might be saying self-talk. What is self-talk?
Mm-hmm.
Self-talk is basically what you say to yourself throughout the day and basically throughout your life. So my question to you is, why is self-talk important? Ask yourself that. And then I'm going to tell you why. I looked at Healthline, and Healthline gave me a great thing to share with you as to why self talk is good and understanding self talk. So let's talk about understanding self talk. It said to take a minute and think about what you said to yourself today. Uh, was it critical or was it kind and helpful? How did you feel after you engaged in this inner discussion with yourself? See, your thoughts are the source of your emotions and your mood. The conversations you have with yourself can be destructive or beneficial. They influence how you feel about yourself and how you respond to events in your life. And I looked at that and I was like, wow, that is super, super duper true. Because I know Kevin and I, we always tell people, think about what you say to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And even I have a mentor, I have someone that also coaches me in my life, and she always tells me, think about what you're saying to yourself and maintain positive self-talk, because positive self-talk is kind of the foundation of where you start your day. So what is self-talk? What is self-talk? It is what you say to yourself
Mm-hmm.
all day long. Sometimes when people get on your ever loving nerves and you start talking to yourself and you say, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna choke that person, pump your brakes. If you start talking to yourself in a loving way,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this person is, aggravating me, but you know what? I am awesome. I am powerful. I am wonderful. I am empowered. I am inspired. I am motivated. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am wise. Those things begin to generate just a positive feeling within yourself. And when that happens, guess what? You're able to deal with the situation differently. Now, sometimes we make mistakes and we do things that we don't appreciate that we've done. And then we start doing a lot of criticizing. And I read an article in Psychology Today. It talked about silencing your inner critic. So, what I want to say about silencing your inner critic is this: it said, being tough on yourself is especially difficult when you've done something that you don't think you should have done. It's kind of difficult because you're darning yourself to death, but at the same time you're trying to push your positive energy up forward so that you can overcome it. But this is the thing: when you're overcritical of yourself, sometimes you go ahead and you begin to make negative responses in your life, and you draw that negative energy in your life. Now, sometimes being a little critical of yourself can be good if you do it from a positive premise. So I encourage all of you, remember what you tell yourself every day. Start out with a loving phrase to yourself. You can start out with mirror work, look yourself in the eye and say, I really love you, whatever your name is. And you can also tell yourself that you are loving, you are kind, you are gentle, you are peaceful. Whatever it is that you want to be, begin to tell yourself that. Like Gandhi said, you have to be, right, the image of what you want to see in the world. So tell yourself that and use that self talk to help motivate you and inspire others. And that's what I've got for you today on the motivational moment. Now, today we have none other than Deja Jones. She hails right out of Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Philadelphia, but now, of course, she is in Baltimore, Maryland, where she is the senior elect for the one of the greatest historical Black colleges in the nation, and that is Morgan State University. So, welcome, Deja.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you so much.
You're
I'm
welcome.
happy to be here. I am really happy to be here. And I'm really excited just to talk to you guys and get some gems and maybe hopefully give out some gems. So thank you for having
So
me.
Deja, before she start going in, can you do us a favor and tell everybody who you are and what you do and how did you get to this point right here, right now?
Okay, so it's always so interesting when you get asked who are because I just feel like there's so many variations of who I am. But um, I am Deja Jones. Um, as she said, I do hail from Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I was born. Um, I attend Morgan State University. In my senior year. I'm about to graduate. I'm on my way out the door, and I have been here for all 4 years. Um, Recently, I've served in many capacities at Morgan State. I believe in being a community servant. So when I got to Morgan State, I didn't. I expounded on that. And most recently, I got elected as Miss Senior. And at HBCUs, we have royal courts. Um, and it's basically the kings and the queens of each class and have the king and the queen over Morgan State University or over that prospective university. And I serve as Miss Senior. So not only do I serve my class, but I also serve the Morgan community, and I also serve on the Student Government Association on their board, on their executive board. Um, and yeah, I was elected in by my community. Um, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
All right. All right, Lotus, just shoot away.
Okay, so I heard you say you talked a little bit about the Queen to King project that you hosted, and I think one of our previous guests was, I guess, the one of the people that kind of helped you guys out. The prior NASA person, Sharon Jackson Little, was there,
Mhm.
and you told us a little bit about it, but it was a night of healing. And I know that you do like a Wellness Wednesday and things of that nature. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what that night of healing was all about?
Okay, so yes, a part of my reign as Miss Senior is putting on events, and you don't have any set events. Everything comes from your heart. You curate all of them. And within my reign, I think that it was very important for me to give Morgan students an outlet to speak freely. So my reign and the events that I do reflect just that. As far as the Queen to King event, it was basically a discussion between men and women. And I have to thank Miss Sharon Jackson Little because she came in and not only did she help mediate it, but she left a lot of gems and a lot of things in our heart. So I just have to thank her if she's watching. She's amazing. But during the discussion, it was broken up into two different parts. So for 30 minutes, women sat in the middle of the circle, and there was a series of questions, and the women got to answer those questions from their perspective, and the men could not talk. The men in the room could not talk. And then for the next 30 minutes, the men got that same privilege. They answered a series of questions that were similar to what the women had answered previously, and the women could not talk. And the point of the discussion was to not only give people an avenue to speak freely, but um, it was also for two genders to understand the perspective of what it means to live inside of that skin every day. And so many discussions were had. We talked about the vulnerability aspect of being a male and not feeling like you have that space. We talked about the uncomfortability of being a woman and feeling like you're always a target, you know. And at the end, we all just came together in a group discussion, and it was basically just a night of understanding who we are so that we navigate the world better. Um, and that event happened last Monday. And then each month, I do it once a month, but now I'm about to do it once every 2 weeks. I do Wellness Wednesday. And I basically just talk about wellness and what that means. That's the state of being mentally, physically, and emotionally healthy. And each week there's a new topic. So I started off with self care. And I basically just jotted down what self care looks like, you know, what it can be, how you can implement it into your life, and why is it important? Why do you deserve self care? Why do you deserve to care about your state of well being before your responsibilities? And Morgan do it on live on Instagram, so everybody is welcome, not just Morgan students, but the mostly the population is Morgan students. And each week is a new topic. So last week I talked about well, excuse me, last month I talked about seasonal depression because as the season is changing, a lot of people go through depression. It's very real, and a lot of times we don't know how to identify that. You know, we're just sad. We don't know what it is. So I definitely outline what seasonal depression looks like and how you can combat that in healthy ways. And I do have a Wednesday actually. We will be having a Wellness Wednesday panel, and me and this organization called the Braun Effect, who actually presented me the idea to do Wellness Wednesday. We will be talking about various topics, and the Morgan community can come in and just listen to the panel discussion and hopefully share some of their experiences as well.
Wow. That's great. I want to go back to the conversation you had with the men and the women. I thought that was amazing, especially the fact that you gave each gender, was it 30 minutes, and
30 minutes, yes.
they talked. But also it allowed to each gender to speak freely, but also it forced the other gender to listen, to understand, and not to respond. Because a lot of times when we have those two gender conversations, um, I'm not gonna say both genders tend to want to listen to respond because we all get into the defensive mode of the conversation, and we want to prove ourselves, being prove the other person wrong. But in this situation, you force them to listen to understand. So then, therefore, the women could get an understanding what the men go through and how the men feel, and be a little bit more sympathetic, empathetic, and not trying to be too quick to try to win the argument. And the same for the men. So I really appreciate that one.
Thank you. Thank you. You're exactly right. It was really hard because of course, I was a part of the discussion. I was not only mediated, and as well as Miss Sharon Jackson Little, we were both in the discussion. And when the men were speaking, there were times where I almost wanted to jump out of my seat. And and most of the time, to me, it was to prove when we were speaking about vulnerability, I wanted to be like, you can be vulnerable. You know what I mean? But I had to sit back and I had to just listen. And really humbled a lot of us in the room because very few times do we listen to understand. A lot of times we listen to respond.
Uh-huh.
And that was completely not the case. And afterwards, like the people who attended, I got so messages, so many DMs. It was just like, thank you. Thank you, because if it had not been for that event, I wouldn't have got to be vulnerable in that capacity.
So
So
I got one more question regarding that. So what was the men's, if you can remember, what was some of the men's statements when it came down to vulnerability and how they felt about it, or could they even feel capable to be vulnerable?
um the question of vulnerability was derivative of a question about sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was, let me try to remember. The question was, do you feel comfortable exploring your sexuality? Um, and a lot of the men in the room just kind of recounted the times that they were trying to, not even trying to navigate their sexuality, but just navigate their emotions. They were turned down and their sexuality was questioned. It's like, oh, you're crying. Oh, you must be gay. You know what I mean? And that's a bigger discussion on how we regard other communities that aren't just straight, and black and white. Um, but a lot of men just feel like they don't have the space
Mm-hmm.
they just feel like I have to be on my P's and Q's because I need to give all that emotional and vulnerability to women, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's completely not that case. In that we talk about toxic masculinity, and in that's where that toxic masculinity stems from,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just a lot of pent up emotions that don't really have a name to it. And they definitely just express how frustrated they with that, and how growing up and becoming a man, they've learned to combat that with just saying how they feel. Um, so I definitely got to see two sides of the spectrum, because it's like this is what I learned in my house, but this is what I'm learning as a transformative male, that I'm okay being sad, I'm okay being happy, I'm okay being depressed, I'm okay being anxious, and I can seek help too, and I can be vulnerable, and I can speak about it as well.
I like that. Lotus, you got anything for?
Well, I definitely like the fact that you are working diligently to open the platform so people can talk about where they are when it does come to sexuality and being able to be vulnerable, because I think that's a big thing that we talk about oftentimes on this show, but it's oftentimes not talked about on a massive level. And I say that because a lot of times people are still stuck in the dark ages by what I hear them say, men don't cry. And it saddens me because we are trying to get spiritual beings having a human experience to stay in this human experience of sadness, depression, not feeling worthy, or whatever it may be. We're trying to get them to stay in that moment and deal with it
Mm-hmm.
without expressing, this is how I'm really feeling as a man. This is how I'm feeling as a young adult. This is how I'm feeling as a young boy. And it be okay
Mm-hmm.
for society to embrace them and say, guess what? Because we understand the dynamics of what it is to be human, what it is to have feelings, what it is to be emotionally intelligent. Because we understand that, we embrace you and we're not going to belittle you for being in touch with who you are. And a lot of times people say, oh, you have to be in touch with your feminine side. Well, I think it goes a little further than that. It goes to the fact that you have to be in touch with who you are as an individual and as a spiritual being having this human experience, because whether we realize it or accept it or not, we are all interconnected. We are connected to everything,
Right.
and everything is connected to us. So how is it that a dog can cry and show sadness, but a man uh, cannot,
Mm-hmm.
a young boy cannot? So I love the fact that you open the platform up for your participants to just say, okay, we're not judging you, just be who you are. So what sparked you to be able to do that? Because I know that that had to present some challenges to even get people involved.
Hmm. I I always say I am my brother and my sister's keeper. I'm the oldest of five. I have one brother, and we're in a single household. So my mother is she's the head of the household, and we've always had that maternal figure. And with my brother, it's being constantly around this feminine, whatever femininity is, because it's infinite. So it's kind of hard to tag on to what, feminine energy is, but he was always around it. And I think my brother, he fluctuated with who he was. He's like, unfortunately, his father passed and he didn't have that male figure in his life. So I think that I always just think about how I want my brother to express himself. Like, I get a little emotional because the love is real. But I express to my brother that you can be sad, you can be anxious, you can cry with me. Like, I'm constantly begging for him to how he feels, so that it's not pent up and it's not rerouted in the wrong way. And so the way that I regard men is kind of a direct reflection of how I regard my brother. And being around these Morgan men, like, they've talked to me, we've had the asides, and I'm like, wow, like, people need to hear this. People need to hear how y'all rationalize things. Like, you're not just and I don't want to curse, but you're not just like this image of what they created. Like, you're so multifaceted. You have so much to say to the world. So when I think about doing events like this, I just want people to have a platform to speak freely and speak organically,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's what drives me, is knowing that I have a little brother who is going to be a reflect these Morgan men one day. So I need to have events that set them up so that they can be like emotionally successful and not just, academically successful, or not just like this image of masculinity, to be like, vulnerable and be real.
I think that's awesome. And it goes back to something that Kevin talks about all the time when he says being your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin, can you share with us what that actually means, being a person's authentic self?
Being who you truly are and how you truly feel, and not be concerned or worried of the judgment of other people. I think, especially for men, I think a lot of times we are concerned about how we are perceived and how we are going to be looked at if we show our vulnerability, if we are emotional, because even now, Deja is an exception. I'm not saying all women, but there are women now that have embraced that stereotype that if men cry, that's a sign of weakness, and they don't want to be bothered with somebody like that. And so when that's our experiences, then it doesn't allow the men to be their true authentic self, because they're concerned about how they're being perceived, how they're being judged. So with that being said, I want to express gratitude to Deja, because I just think if more women looked at it from that perspective, that if they have a brother and you want your brother to be able to express how he's feeling, so he won't be all bottled up. If you and so if that's the case, and then they would treat the men that enter their lives in that same manner, I don't think we will have as many issues as we do, because if I'm dating someone but I don't feel comfortable enough to express how I feel, then it's gonna be a disconnect, because should be the person who should know everything, and I should
Yes.
be comfortable with everything. But a lot of us men, we're not comfortable with the women we date, because we fear that they'll judge us. So it forces a lot of men not to be their true authentic self.
And Kevin, speaking to the point of health and wellness, uh, it, this came to mind when you were talking, and when Deja was talking as well. When we begin to cause men to kind of suppress their emotions, I think it moves them further away from their emotional intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of puts a barrier there. And even and this came to me when you were talking, it makes them dumb down their emotional
Mm-hmm.
intelligence, because we have a lot of men who are very emotional intelligent,
Yep.
but because of the pressures that men place on men and that women place on men, and also that critical self-talk that they often do to themselves, they beat themselves up, it causes them to dumb down their emotional intelligence. And with that being said, Deja, like Kevin, I want to congratulate you for doing that, and also tell you about one of our viewers, Angela. She typed in that what you did, it sounds great. And it sounds like a great opportunity for both sexes to communicate their vulnerabilities, like Kevin said, and express themselves. And then she further went on to say, to ask this question. She said, what challenges did you see during the event, i.e., hesitancy to respond or share? Did you see anything like that?
Um, so it was a very, very intimate event. Wasn't that many participants, and my Morgan men, they're powerhouses. Um, so before I even started the event, I laid down the ground rules, and I basically told them that transparency is key because what is said in this room will not leave the room, which I think helped them because they weren't very hesitant, but they were very ready. They were ready and well equipped with how they wanted to respond to things. And one thing that I noticed that stood out to me a lot is like when the women had their opportunity to speak. One guy who was there, he's my friend Jay, when it was their turn to speak, he was like, I'm an empath and I was really, really feeling what you guys were saying and I'm kind of just coming down off of that. So I was in the room with some men who were very emotionally intelligent and there had been a lot of they have had experiences where people tried to antagonize them for that and bring that, take that down a notch in them. So I don't know. It wasn't really any challenges to get them to speak. I was more just in awe on what they were saying and what they were willing to express.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's awesome. It's so much because and then too they are the millennials are considered millennials, and I just think the millennials are a little bit more emotionally intelligent than we are, um, and I think that tends to make a disconnect with the men in my generation and the millennials because they are more emotionally intelligent, and so when then we look at them as being overly emotional, and it's not that they overly emotional; they just in tune with their emotions, and we're not because we were raised not to be in tune with our emotions. Where these
Right.
guys now, these men now, are more in tune to it, and they're more unapologetically okay with that. And that's that thing when that's for us as men, we gotta learn from them and learn to be okay with expressing our emotions. And so, that's how I saw it from that. You have anything else you want to add, Lotus?
Well, I definitely must say that because if we don't change generationally,
Mm-hmm.
we are going to continue to perpetuate the same stereotypes and the same negative thinking about men being able to express themselves. And as you know, if you look at the numbers, men typically pass away sooner than women. And a lot of times it's because of heart attacks and strokes and things of that nature because men are so suppressed from being able to express themselves. So I definitely say that this is something, in my opinion, Deja, that you just want to keep doing because these gentlemen, our Morgan men, are eventually going to be fathers and husbands and or husbands and fathers and leaders and things of that nature. And if they don't learn now, if they haven't learned before, if they don't learn now how to deal with the things that are affecting them emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, from a premise of I'm okay to express whatever it is that I'm feeling. I feel safe enough to do it. If they don't get to do it, when they get in those power positions, when they get in those marriages or long term relationships, when they become fathers, what's going to happen, in my opinion, is that they too will continue to perpetuate distancing oneself from emotional intelligence, and they will again continue to suppress the ability to say, this is who I am, and this is how I feel, and guess what? I'm okay.
I like that too. I want to say also, just as we listen to you talk, because we're going to do a men's roundtable discussion on December 16th, and I just hope and pray that the men come ready like they came ready for yours, so we can do some more healing from a male perspective, regarding being vulnerable, and just the disconnect between different generations, so we as a man could come together as one and be great. But you also gave me motivation, and I we'll talk more about it when I call you this week. Um, that I think that's something that you and I should do as one of our
Yes.
shows,
Yes.
to have men and women come. I have the whole audience filled up with men and
Yes.
women,
Mhm.
and do it like she did it. And
Yes.
maybe we might have Deja come on and be the moderator. And
Yes, and that would be great. And Deja's working on some other things too, and I'm sure she'll tell us later on down the line. But I think that would be great to have that. And I just wanted to chime in also because we got somebody, Quanasia Brown. She just chimed in and she said that she feels that Deja doing this with young people at the college level is great because a lot of times we are taught so many things that are just not right.
Hmm.
so,
And we got one question, another question. How can we encourage men to share their emotions?
is that for age Deja or for anybody?
I think it's for both of you. Well, probably for all of us, but that's what it says. How can we, help men to share their emotions? How
Uh,
can we encourage men to share their
I'll let
emotions?
I'll let Deja go first.
Okay.
Um, I think, well, what you guys are saying is very, very, it holds a truth. One thing that I speak about like with my peers is breaking generational curses. You know, like we're all trying to retaliate against a flawed system.
Hmm.
Um, and the only way I can encourage men to express themselves is just give them the space and the opportunity to do so.
Hmm.
I check in on my male friends all the time. You know, I check in on their mental health, their mental well being, and they reciprocate. So I think
Hmm.
it's just being on top of each other about being emotionally responsible. You know, learning when and when not to speak up, and speaking up is always. I'm sorry. Speaking up is always an option. So giving them the space, giving them giving them grace and allowing them to be human, just like I allow my sisters to be human or I allow myself to be human. I think that that's how we encourage it.
I agree. I would say the same thing. We have to create a space for these men to feel safe, because a lot of them don't feel safe. And the reason why a lot of men do not feel safe is like when they get to a point in a relationship with a woman or maybe even a friend, and they feel safe enough to be vulnerable. Um, then in turn, if they get into a disagreement with that young lady then took what he said in a state of vulnerability and used it as a weapon in that disagreement. And then that makes the men really just shut down, like, I can't do this again, because I'm not gonna give you nobody the opportunity to use my vulnerability as a weapon towards me. And so that's what I would say, we just gotta, you know, we want the men to uh, be expressive and be open, but they have to really, like you said, they have to really feel safe enough. And the one thing you don't get enough of, and which I'm proud of you that you do, is to actually check in on the men. We are supposed to be the providers and the protectors, so we always concerned about the women. But sometimes when they look at us, people look at us to be strong, but they therefore us being strong, they never check on us to see if we are okay.
Right. Another thing too, I wanted to say is that the men, when there is a safe environment, you have to step up
Hmm.
and you have to come into that safe environment and be a part of it and put yourself out there because this
Yep.
is another thing that often happens, and especially in African American communities. There are outlets, but you don't step up. When someone puts on a program, you're nowhere to be found.
Hmm.
So that's another thing. And that, call it devil's advocate or whatever,
Right.
but the facts are the facts. So we have to make sure to tell our men folk, you got to step up. Because when people host something to help empower you and help empower the community so we can understand each other from not just a physical premise, you know, but from an emotional premise,
Mm-hmm.
then you got to step up and be a part of it, because you can't say, oh, this doesn't happen for me. Well, it doesn't happen for you because you're not putting yourself in the environment to allow yourself to be there. And then you got this shield up where you won't let it down so you can be vulnerable, so you can purge some of those hurts and some of those pains and some of those things where
Mm-hmm.
you're saying, I can't get ahead. No, you can't get ahead because you're not putting yourself in a position so that you can draw that to you. So I just wanted to throw that out there because
I agree.
I want people to know that we're looking at things from both sides of the coin.
Right.
We're not going to coddle anybody, and we're going to encourage you to step up to the plate so you can be the best version of yourself.
Right. And that what you say is
Um,
absolutely true. Um,
I
that
just wanted to add, if I
uh
can,
huh.
I think it's very important, and I am so glad you said that. I think it's important for men who have that vulnerability to hold their male friends accountable as well. I
Yes.
really do. You have to encourage your brothers to get to where you are emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, like you said, it's something that has to be all of us are working together, or it's never going to work.
Right.
So thank you for saying
And,
that.
and,
Right.
and,
And
and
it goes back. Go ahead.
as a life coach, and I'm really passionate about black men. That's the thing that I've really been trying to get them to do is try to create spaces to where they can feel vulnerable. One of the things I think, I'm not gonna say I think, I know some of the statements they have made, the fear of allowing themselves to allow their heart to break.
Yes.
Because a lot of these men are broken, they have heart, their heart is broken, and they fear if they allow themselves to let their heart break, they wouldn't know how to put their heart back together.
Yeah.
And so therefore they don't allow it. And so
Mhm.
and that too is like we gotta make them feel okay and secure enough that okay, if your heart breaks, we here to help you put it back together piece by piece.
Right.
And so that's one of the things I've been trying to do. And that's why, you know, I'm gonna have that conversation on the 16th because it's up to us to play off, like you said, or either we all gonna play a part or we not. And
Yes.
so if we want our community to be better and do better, we all gotta play our part. And so I agree with you on that.
Mhm. And that's where we go back to it takes a village, because again, we talking about community, we talking about togetherness, we talk about cohesion. We had two other responses that I want to chime in with. Quanasia said she feels that hold on a second, let me okay. It's sad that our men of color feel like um, they are anyway mental, they are less than, I mean, okay, so if they're emotional, if they show that their emotions, it, they have to feel like they're less than a man because of societal norms. And then she also said, as a older community, we need to allow these men to feel safe, and they need to learn to share as well. So that's amazing. And then we got another comment from Angela. She says, communicating our emotions requires us to develop our emotional vernacular, so the way we speak, the words we choose. But we must realize that it does take time. So, what do you say about that, Kevin? I want to bounce it to you first and then bounce it to you, Deja. It takes time for people to get there and to develop a certain vernacular to be able to uh, kind of put together, this is how I'm feeling.
Um, well, it does take time, especially if you've never been taught how to express your feelings. Um, and for most men, they were never taught to express it, and they were never taught or made aware that it's okay to express feelings. So now at 20, 30, 40, and 50 years old, now we're people are asking us to, tell us how we feel, and we really don't know how to. We tend to think, and that's when I get to my class. I want you to think I want you to tell
Hmm.
me how you feel. Feel and what you think is two different things. And
Yep.
so, a lot of times we base our statements off of how we think we feel and not actually how we truly feel. And that's something that they have to learn how to do. And um, it's gonna take some time. It's gonna be hard for them because they just never knew how to do it. And then therefore, like you say, I just think the men need to surround themselves with people who, oh, like Deja said, is going to who's already emotionally intelligent to force them to be more intelligent and force them to be able to express how they feel and, like they say, make them feel it's okay to do it and not be judged. And so that's the main thing too.
So Deja, I've got this question for you. So since you've done this, was this the first one that you did?
Yes.
Okay. So since this was the first one, have you thought about doing another one? And if so, when are you forecasting it?
Um, so actually, it's crazy because I just got out of a senior e-board meeting, and most of them were at the event, and um, we were pressed for time, so we didn't get to really dive into the discussion on how we felt during the exercise. So it kind of left them wanting more dirty or, like more of an avenue to express themselves. So I did think about doing another part um, where it's just solely the discussion between men and man and woman and people who don't identify as either. Just an open discussion where people can really dig into and discuss what they go through. Because I think it's important to note. You guys talk about time. It's like I'm 21 years old. You know what I mean? At this point, I don't feel like I'm teaching vulnerability because a lot of times I don't even know how to be vulnerable. I
Right.
feel
Mm-hmm.
like we're all in this learning space and we're all trying to figure out how to navigate our emotional selves, our mental selves, our physical selves. Um, so I definitely want to have another event because this discussion has to go on because there has to be a resolution. Um, and I forecast that probably at the beginning of next semester, January. Um, and also, I'm working with you, Ms. Rich, on bringing a wellness program to all schools, especially in Maryland. So during those times, I feel like these discussions are going to come up, and it's going to give college students an avenue to freely.
All right. Fantastic. I'm gonna take some water, folks.
Say again.
So so thank you for that. And yes, we are working on cultivating something right now. We're working on a wellness program for the Baltimore and surrounding areas. So thanks for putting that out there. And Kevin, you got a yes, Kevin. And because these men are broken, it affects every relationship that they become a part of.
Mm-hmm.
But we are only focusing on the male, but we have some females that are in the same position. How do we deal with that?
Good question, and I agree.
That's an excellent question out of Newark, New Jersey.
I agree. The women, I just we focus on the male because I think a lot of times they are the hardest ones to get to be more emotional. However, I do agree that the women are broken as well. Um, and I just think a lot of times, from my experiences, I know you coach as well. Um, there's a lot of trauma that both the men and women have instilled from their childhood.
Mhm.
So then, therefore, the self esteem is not there because whether it's the father wasn't present, or in some cases, they might even have mommy issues where they feel like the mother never loved them. So then, therefore, they seek out love from other people that they did not get from their parents. And that's something that, and I think that's part of the things that we have to deal with. And I think a lot of times that's why I think people like Lois and I are important, you know, as life coaches because you could come to us and we can help deal with those issues. A lot of times, like you said, in our community, we if for some reason we don't want to go to a life coach or we don't want to go to a counselor, so we say we're gonna pray on it or we're gonna say God's the church gonna do it for us. But then if you don't pull away at the issues at hand, the church can't do it for you. And so that's where I think it's really important for people to think it's okay for mentally to go to a coach and say, hey, this is what's going on. I really want a good relationship, whether it's a female or a male. Because when I have female clients, I'll say, the first thing they'll tell me is about what the men are not doing. And I would say, I'll tell them, we're not going to discuss the men right just yet. I said, because the men that you're dating is the men that you're attracting. So we got to look inside you to see why you are attracting these type of people to you. And so once we could get to that point and deal with that, then we could move on and we could try to track and do something different. So I do agree. I just think we got to, everybody needs to do a lot of self work. And it's funny because I have a young man that's like 33. He's doing his, and he said, he never knew that it was that hard to do what they the self work. And so he said that, he has a newfound respect for what you and I do, because we have to be really able to pull out the issues and get them to speak on
Exactly.
what they're going through. And so I just think if we all do our own self work, then that will help us in our relationships with everybody else.
And Deja, what have you, in regard to what the young lady out of Newark said? What are you doing in the area where you are in Baltimore to help your fellow students, the female fellow students, kind of be in connection with their emotions and understand, what it is that they need, and how to express their needs and their hurts and pains?
Well, I've always found a lot of I found my solace in understanding my sisters and the fellow queens next to me. So I think I've always just tried to give a space, like have a whole group chat of just women. And every day we're posting positive affirmations, we're manifesting things for each other. I have like four sister queens, that's what we call it, who I'm their accountability partner. And it's like, I'm staying up on you, like, what is your emotional goals for this month? What do you want to accomplish? What are we doing? Are we meditating this month? Or what are we doing for self-care? So it's just basically being accountable for each other. And that is in the most organic way. It's just calling and checking up on each other, going to each other's events, like being that support that they may not have had. I'm also part of an amazing organization called the National Council of Negro Men. And we've done a lot of partnerships throughout the years. Um, One just being sister circles. Every Wednesday at our general body meeting, we just get in a huge circle and everybody writes down what I've went through and they all put it in the pal. And then we have a moderator. It's one of the and sisters, that's what we call each other. Um, and she'll read it and we'll all just digest what it means. And sometimes people will come to the forefront of who wrote. Um, so I think all I'm doing is just keeping an open line of communication with my sisters to be like, you're not alone. And just as I'm not alone, you're not alone, and we're going to figure this out together.
So,
Awesome.
so Deja, I want to know what put this on your spirit to be the way you are. Because for you to be at 21 and for you to be this passionate at what you are and what you're doing, what was the catalyst to get you to be like that?
Um, it's, I'm a very, um, I'm a very emotional person by right. So you just have to excuse me.
Don't worry
But
about it.
um, being at Morgan State, it's really has been a very trying and transformative time. And in specific, my sophomore year, yes, I have my sisters, and just like my sisters, I'm their keeper, and I think about my sisters, and like I want to speak positivity. But my sophomore year, I went through this very dark time in my life. I had dealt with sexual misconduct in a way that I never had. and I just felt dark. I had no appetite. I lost so much of my hair. Like, I was not going to classes. Like, I almost failed an entire semester because I couldn't work myself to face my university. Um, and it got to the point where I had to go home. Like, I had no other choice but to go back to my mom. And during that 3 week period when I was with my mom, I just kind of had to rework my emotional self. Like, I had to tell myself that I was worth, every good thing that had coming to me. So I kind of had to rebrand myself from this person who was like in this solitude and I didn't want any help into this light for myself. And like once I got to the point where I was strong enough, I was like, I can't just leave this with me. Like, I have to spread this light because it's not just me. I'm not the only person going things. I'm not the only person hurting. So I would be doing a disservice to myself, my community, my mother, everybody who has watered me and watched me grow. I would be doing a disservice if I just left this light inside of me. Um, so I think that that's drives me. It's like I have to make sure that nobody ever feels the way that I did during those couple of months, you know.
Yep. So I wanted to chime in right quick, Kevin, because I hear you and Deja kind of singing the same song, and you sing encouragement, but I hear you singing get the help you need. And I said that because we got a post from one of our viewers, and she said yes, because the Black community make you feel like you're crazy for getting help. And so she said, thank you for your answer, Kevin. She appreciated that. And she said, yes, Lotus is an excellent life coach. Thank you, Deja, for that that information that you gave. And she said that it's great that you're doing that in your area. Maybe she can start something like that in her community. And it sounds really good.
Wow. That's I just got a lot I'm thinking about because I do plan on going to the Baltimore area, to do a spin
Yes.
class, and so I would love um to for a lot of the Morgan people to come and take my spin class, and hopefully I could get Lotus to come up that way, and then if we do not if when this happens, maybe we could sit down somewhere and have another conversation.
Yeah, I'd love to definitely do a live show from Morgan if we can get the producers from the Kevin to our Wellness Architect show to be able to get that going, because I think it would be phenomenal. Even if I traveled to Baltimore and everybody got on the set, and Kevin, you interviewed some of the other folks at Morgan, because I got to tell you, uh, we are seeing college students come into their own these days. They're very intelligent, they're articulate, very mature in many ways. But again, having the support that they need, having the outlets that they need, is something that again the community is going to have to step up and help them, and encourage them to make sure they do that, because it is a great part of healthcare, like Deja said. It is a part of taking care of oneself. So I would definitely be looking. I'm looking forward to it. I think that's something that we should do. What are your thoughts on that, Deja?
I would love that. I would love that a lot. The Morgan community, there's so much story, so much trauma. And at times it's really daunting to think about the things that we went through at such young ages. And I think that what we need the most is just that support from those who have been where we are and who have made it through what they went through at our ages. So for you guys to just come and be that reflection, be that like glimmer of hope, it would just do a lot for the community. And that's what we're big on, is making sure that we're great first.
Well,
And this is a call to action right now for anyone out there. If you are a Morgan alumnus and you are interested in helping uh, the current students and other alumni step into the best version of themselves, and you want to be a part of this, don't hesitate. Reach out to us. Come join us. when we go up to Morgan, because this is going to help set the stage for a lot of people to become the best self that they can possibly be. And it takes everybody to be a part of it and to help push them along and encourage them. So if we got any Morgan folks out there, doesn't matter if you're going to Morgan now or an alumnus, we want your help. We need your help.
So, Deja, what do you have going on next in your life?
This is the beginning of this is the end of a chapter that seemed like it was never in. So I think that right now I'm just trying to manifest a career after college. The things that I do now, I was just talking to my best friend about this. I want to go back to Georgia and implement them in my middle and my high schools. So I want the girls to have a mentoring program. I want to. There's a lot of current students from Georgia, and I want them to implement it for the men at their schools. So I kind of just, I don't know, I'm just manifesting a career. I want to take this positivity and this light and this drive and these positive words. Like, I just want to make sure that it keeps multiplying and it's nothing that dies out because I'm dealing with, life and being an adult. So what's next for Deja is just building an empire that everyone can benefit from.
So, okay, so I hear you say that you come back to the ATL, and you got some other guys or young ladies from Morgan that's gonna come back as well, and y'all want to do like mentorships and all that kind of stuff from the middle schools y'all went to. Um,
The middle and high schools.
okay, so what I will ask is you stay in contact with me, since I'm down here as well. So, cause I would love to, collaborate with you guys, and do that. So, please keep in touch with me with that. And so, when you come down here, we could do stuff together, and help, because you're not doing this by yourself. And so, the reason is a reason Lotus got you here, and for me to be on the show with you because we in the same alignment of what we're trying to do, not trying what we are doing, and we could do great things as individuals, but also greater things as a collaborative force. So please just keep in touch with me when you come down. So whatever you're doing, I can support you and help you guys as well. Okay,
Thank you. I definitely
So
will. Thank you so much.
you're
I,
welcome.
I have to say this. Quinasia Brown out of Newark, New Jersey. She said, Kevin, uh, can I bring, hold on, I got somebody else chiming in. Let me go back to this. Can I bring something to New Jersey? We need so much of what is being said out here. We can go into some of the colleges and churches here, please. And it says, I live in Newark and I see so many young people who need this positive outlook on life. So I'm throwing that question to both of you because this is an open door to do something in the Newark, New Jersey area. And we would definitely ask the viewer if you have any contacts in that area. I know you are a recent graduate. Um, we would just say yes, reach out to your university.
um,
And I'm definitely in. What are your thoughts, Kevin and Deja?
so I'm gonna let Deja go first, and then I'll go after that.
Um, I'll go anywhere. I would go anywhere that God wants me to go. I don't think that this message needs to be limited to anywhere. So if you give me a university, a high school, excuse me, my phone fell. You know how it is. A university, a high school, willing to come.
Okay, so what I would say, um, I'm down with this. I feel that this is the universe dictating what we should be doing for 2020. What I would ask for is for the listener in Newark. Um, I want to do it the same way. I'm gonna do a tour, like I told Lotus. So if they could find a spin studio that I could teach a class at, we could teach a class, so we could promote the wellness part of it, but then have a sit down like town hall conversation where we have these type of conversations, I'm all aboard. What you think, Lotus?
I think that's phenomenal. Of course, I'm definitely and want to do all that we can do to help benefit people and encourage them. We have another question, and Deja, this question is for you. It says, Deja, do you feel that Morgan provides mental health and well-being training for college students? What resources are available to provide students with the skills and tools needed to navigate the stressors and emotional challenges of college life? That's out of Washington, D.C.
Um, so yes, I do think Morgan. I'm a student ambassador, so I talk about Morgan and how they navigate mental health a lot because I appreciate it. We have a counseling center with an amazing counseling staff. I utilize the counseling center all the time. It's open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And students can come in there, make an appointment, and just speak freely for an hour. We also resource like if you're not comfortable speaking with a counselor, we have relaxation rooms that you can book for an hour and just go in and de-stress. They're soundproof, so you can scream. They're fully equipped for things to just calm you down or give you like a place to just breathe and kind of rationalize what you're doing. On top of that, the Brown Effect, which is amazing mental health awareness group, conducts group sessions all the time where people are just able, and I say this a lot, but people have to just digest. They have to try to figure out what is the source of the problem. So it's important to consistently give them a space to do that. And the Broad Effects give them a space. So there's so many resources for Morgan students to just have an outlet and to know that it's okay not to be okay. It's fine, but you have the support behind you. And on top of that, we have a 24-hour nursing hotline, and you can call and speak with them. And just influential students. Like I'm one of many. Like I'm merely a reflection of my environment, and there's so many people who are in positions, and we're having these events that aren't so like fun or whatever it may be, but we're having these events to be like, here, say what you need to say, and your brother, your sister, like we have your back regardless. So I think that Morgan State does an amazing job, the community and the administration, to just allow Morgan students to rationalize themselves, get help, and feel better.
We got a call. Hold on
Hi,
one
Tracy
second.
Kincaid. Good to see you. And I think we have Wanda D. Hollis. Thank you. Good to see you. Larry Pace. Thank you. Good to
Hold
see
on one
you.
second, Lotus. 1 second.
Okay.
Wellness Architect Show. How you doing?
Hi, how are you,
I'm good. How
Mr.
are
Kevin?
you? Huh?
Is this Mr. Kevin?
It is.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, Val.
Hey there. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Listen, I need to, I guess, get with you guys and get some information from you. I want to set up something for you guys over here in Newark. I'm
Okay.
already on the line, but I want to set up something for over here for you guys in Newark. I will be calling my alma mater, which is Bloomfield College, which I graduated from. I will be calling them to see if I can set up something so you guys can come in and do something there. I'm good. I'm good. Hey, Val.
I lost you.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know why. Can you hear me now?
I can. Now I can.
I don't know why.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay. Like I said, I'm going to be calling Bloomfield, which is my alma mater. I want to set up something for you guys to come to the New Jersey area, so I'm just going to need you guys' information so when I call the college, I can give them information and see what dates that they'll have available in 2020.
Okay. Just reach out to, just inbox both of us, and we'll send you our information, and we're glad to help out the best we can. I'm looking
Okay.
forward to it.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the positivity with the show. It's really, really great. This is my second week, and it's great. I mean, like, this is what we need. I don't sent messages to some of my friends so they can pick up and listen because it's great.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay. All right. You have a good night.
You too. All
All
right.
right.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye. Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry about that. Go ahead. That was a
Awesome.
yeah. So what was you? I'm sorry. I know I had to interrupt you, but what was you saying?
I don't know, but I know I was saying, hello, Tracy Kincaid. Thanks for joining us. Hello, Wanda Hollis. I meant to say hi to you earlier. Larry Pace from North Carolina, Red Springs. Happy to have you. We have another question for Deja. Deja, Angela wanted to know, are there any peer-to-peer groups there also?
Yes, so I spoke about it previously, but the Broad Effect is a peer-to-peer group um, who they conduct group sessions all the time, group therapy sessions all the time. Also within our individual organizations, such as the National Council of Negro Women, which is an all-female organization, Smooth Strongmen, Overcoming Obstacles Through Hard Work. Um, we conduct peer-to-peer things all the time. So it's not just about being in organizations and putting on events. It's definitely an outlet for you to understand your brother and your sister through working together. So there's a lot of organizations that kind of focus on, peer-to-peer, peer-to-peer growing, learning, and having each other as an outlet.
Awesome,
I
awesome.
hope I answered.
Fantastic. Hope that answers your question, Miss Angie. Let us know if that answered your question. Also, we have Daisy she's in New Jersey. She just shared your shared the show in the Think and Grow Richer organization. So thank you for sharing the show with them, Daisy. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Daisy.
And Miss Angie said yes, and thank you, Daisy. That answered her question.
So, I like to ask my listeners, especially now that you're 21 and you're about to graduate soon, if you have no limits, if you have no limits, what would you see yourself doing? And there's no limits.
Um, there's limits. Wow. I just see myself speaking at high schools and colleges, and giving these tips on understanding yourself. But I don't want to do it without, like you said, no limits, no bounds. Like, I want to take this everywhere because a little country girl from Georgia, I feel like I can reach out and be reflective of a lot of people. So I just see myself speaking, doing seminars on how to care about your well-being, you know what I mean? And how to also lead when you have a broken heart. Like, I'm not for one to pretend that I'm all okay and I'm completely solidified who I am. Like, I go through depression, I suffer from anxiety. There's so many times that I'm giving up on myself, but I know that with support we can overcome all odds. And I just want that to be a message that is spread throughout everything, and especially to little girls and boys who look like me, because we are derivative of being silenced, our emotions being silenced, and not being able to navigate ourselves in the way that other cultures get to navigate themselves. So I just want to be that reflection. Like, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. And if nobody else tells you that we're gonna be okay, and if you don't have support from anybody else, Deja Jones is here for you, and we're gonna figure it out.
I love it. I love it. Los, you have anything to share?
I'm just very thankful to our folks. Hillary Gooden, thank you so much for watching. I'm just so thankful for our folks that's chiming in, because it further signifies that, Deja, what you have done and what you are doing, there is a need and there is uh, a support for it, and to just have you continue to move forward and do what you're doing, because it's unequivocal that when we as children grow up a certain way, if we don't shake off those thoughts and beliefs and behaviors, we carry those things into adulthood. And like Quanasia said, we carry those things into relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why so many times our relationships, either in our personal relationships, our love relationships, and even our relationships at work, don't often work out because we get locked into these ways of being that we can't shake off, because a lot of times we don't have the platform to come forward and say, this is what I'm dealing with. Hey, I need help. And also, like Quanasia said earlier, a lot of times when people go after the help, they're they're ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I would say continue to do what you're doing, and thank you for everybody for chiming in. And I just wanted to ask any of our listeners out there, have you experienced where you have a young male or female that has had trouble expressing their feelings and that it's kept them back? What did you do to help that person? And what would you recommend for other people to do to help people as they go and grow? And I'll pose that question to you as well, Deja. What would you what can you share on that?
I have to. I'm an internalizer. So can you please say it just one more time, because I really want to give you. I want to give you correct, like the correct answer from how I feel.
What can you offer um, and suggest to people as a way of helping young men and women kind of be okay to go inside themselves and find out what's really going on, and then be able to express that so that they don't carry all this old baggage on in their lives?
I am a firm believer in just leading by example. So if I'm doing it, if I can fight my demons that I know, like, I've lived with myself through the darkest, and I know I've been through, and I know that I had told myself that, you don't need to be here anyway. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get help because you don't need to be here. So I know that if I got the strength up to speak to someone, I know that you can too. And all I can do is just be accountable and hope that that's enough for people to keep going with making sure that they're mentally sound. So just being an example and being very transparent about what I've went through and where I'm going.
I think your transparency, you being very authentic of what you struggle with and what you've been through and what you experience, it's gonna make people feel comfortable enough to express how they feel. Because then, if they, like you said, if they see that you are okay with though expressing your truth and your journey and your experience, whether it was a bad experience, and you was able to express it, and you have come on the other side of it, then you give them the confidence to do it as well. And so I think that's the most important thing, period, because a lot of times people don't talk or don't express because they feel like they're the only one who's going through this, and you sharing let people know that you're not by yourself. So I really appreciate that.
I want to say hi to Jeff Marchetti Jr. As you know, he is the show host of Make Every Second Count. And I thought it was ironic that while you were talking, Deja, he came on, because that is unequivocal that we have to make every second count. And everything that you are doing is making it count for people who may otherwise not be heard, or otherwise not really check inside themselves and really see what's going on so they can deal with whatever emotions, thoughts that they're having.
Mm-hmm. That was powerful.
So I have a question for you, Deja. What do you think our generation, me and Lotus generation, could do for you guys in this journey that maybe y'all don't ask of us, or y'all may need from us?
Mm. A common thing just speaking with my peers is I think that your generation can be present without an easy fix. You know, at times we're looking to be heard, um, and not to be silenced and be like, well, this is what I went through, because we're experiencing life in a different realm, in a different time. So I think to just be still and to completely just be there to listen. And once we've been able to rationalize it, then you give us that reassuring that it's going to be okay. Because we just need the outlet to speak to we just need the outlet to speak to you guys. I think a lot of trauma comes from not being able to tell our parents anything, you know, and that's why we utilize others so much. But at the end of the day, we're never finding complete peace because the person who was at the source of it, they don't know the half of it, you know? So I think that if you have a niece, like you a little cousin, whoever it is, just ask them, what is going on with you? And just let them speak, and just let them know that you hear them.
I think I'm hearing you say, and I love the way you put that, we don't want you guys to fix us. We need your guidance. We appreciate your guidance, but we want to be heard. And we want your wisdom to help us along to fix our own problems with your support. And I think that's critical because that helps you guys to do critical thinking. It helps you guys to be self-thinkers. And that's what we need. We need more young men and young women that can think for themselves and really move into action instead of being manipulated, if you will, or being puppetized, where we're telling you guys this is what you should do, you must do this, and then you guys are doing it against your own free will, rather than using your creative juices and using the wisdom that we have to help support you to move into your brilliance. So that's very profound, and I'm happy you were able to get that out.
Thank you for giving me the space to say that. Thank you.
No problem. I think um, I figured that that was something that you were going to say. The reason why I said that is because I've have some people that's in your age range, and that's one of the things that they say a lot is that they feel like they're not being heard. So I try to do my best just to listen, like you said, just listen, and then after, let them say what they have to say, and then from there I'll ask them, "What do you need from me?"
Yeah.
And
Quanasia said, I feel like Lotus said at the start of the program, self-talk is so very important. Once we can see the best in ourselves, then I feel that we can better deal with life on life's terms. Uh, heads the older community, hence the older community, we should learn to listen more and be open.
I agree. Instead, listen and stop. Instead of always trying to fix it, we can't always fix it. They just want to be heard, and I just think that's across the board. Sometimes, even in relationships, I think people just want to be heard, and so instead of us trying to um, over talk each other, I just think we need to learn how to be present and just listen to understand and not to respond. That's my favorite term. Everybody knows it because I don't think we do a good job in doing that. And so we need to be more active listeners and and give people the space to listen and know that we're gonna be active listening, understanding what they're going through, and then from there ask them what do they need from us, and then if they just need us just to be there, we just do that. If they want our opinion, we give that, but don't just offer it. Let them talk first, and then ask what's the next step? What do you need for us? That's how I see it. But this has been an amazing conversation, ma'am. First of all, I'm truly honored that I have met you. Truly honored to know that someone of your caliber is doing such amazing things in the community of your school at Morgan State. It just makes me feel proud as a man that and that people in your generation and a woman like yourself are doing such amazing things and being very selfless. You you care about other people so much that you want them to be the best version of themselves. So you creating spaces for them to learn how to be self care, how to be able to be vulnerable and have the space of being vulnerable and not being judged. And so with that, I just want to give you kudos, my respect,
Thank you.
my gratitude, because we need more people like you. So
Thank you so much. Thank you.
you so
That
welcome.
means the world. I just all I ever wanted was support, and being that for people has given me a lot of release. So I have to thank you guys because you guys pioneer a way for people like me to feel like what I'm doing is okay. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you guys for allowing me to be so open. And I just really appreciate this opportunity. I do.
Man, I appreciate that because I just think um it was a conversation that needed to be had. Um and I just think because if we just sit back and actually listen, because when I can see you have a lot, you're emotional, so you got a lot that you want to express, and I just think if we just give people the chance to express it, you know, it'll it will heal them one, but they'll also it create change for other people as well. So it's truly been my pleasure. It's been my pleasure to have met you. I'm grateful to Lotus for bringing you to my attention. And I hope that we can stay connected. So when you come back to the ATL, you know that you're not alone, that I'm going to help you in this journey. And we can do things together to be a positive influence in our community.
And I definitely would love to be able to chime in or have you on the show to kind of talk about your Wellness Wednesday so that people at Morgan and also in the Baltimore area and in other locations can also see what the Wellness Wednesday is like and how it can help other people to be well in their body, in their mind, in their soul, and in the way that they communicate. Okay, because a lot of times when we are not healthy in the way we talk to ourselves and the way we feel about ourselves, it spills over into how we communicate with people. So I would love to definitely have you back and talk about the Wellness Wednesday. And of course, you and I, we've talked about it. I'll be traveling up to Baltimore periodically to help you with the Wellness Wednesday. I'm really looking forward to it. And definitely, I can't wait to get on the um, the tour, the spin tour with Kevin. I'm super excited about that. So make sure you talk to all your Morganites
It's
and tell them Kevin
you,
Thornton
you
is
know,
coming.
but you know
And I'm
what? You know
sure
what,
he's been
Lotus? You know what, Lotus? It's funny. It's like, okay, we put this out there, and then you bring this young lady on here who's going to be in Baltimore, and
Mhm.
it's like that's the universe saying, okay, that's the first place you need to go to,
Yes.
and then it could be a great combination of me teaching these people, the wellness side of exercise, and then from there we could create like a town hall conversation after
Yes.
that, and let's have some transformative conversations to create healing for everyone. So I'm excited about that.
And I
So
think we're going to be Spin City, Baltimore. Uh, and I think Sharon Jackson Little, she is one of the folks that's going to be helping us out with that. That's the place I think where she does her spin cycling as well. So that's
okay,
probably where we're going to kick it off. Definitely want to get with the Morg Nights uh, and get it going. So I'm super excited. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm super excited.
And
I'm
to
excited.
the young lady in Newark, if your if your school has a spin studio, I know a lot of colleges do have spin bikes now. If they allow us to come in there and teach a class, plus we could have a conversation with you guys at the same time, I'll greatly appreciate that as well. If not, we can find a place in that area that I could do a class, and then we can find out a place where we could do an actual conversation. We would gladly be there, and that's for any city in the U.S. We're not gonna put any limits. So if those people who've been tuning in and listening, and you want us to come to your area, please let us know. Reach out to me, reach out to Lotus, and we will get with it with you. Because I put 5 cities down, but evidently it's gonna be more than 5 cities. So I greatly
Mhm.
appreciate all the support, and the positive feedback that we are getting.
Yeah,
Um,
and I stand corrected right quick. I think the kickoff is supposed to be at Club D Cycle, where Mr. Will Matthews, uh, he is, I believe he's the owner and he is the trainer there. And that's where we are more than likely going to kick off things right there. And those of you that are listening, if you visit Baltimore or just want to check it out, check out Club D Cycle and see Sharon Jackson Little as well.
all right. So
Yes.
before we get ready to like wind down, tell us everything you got going on, Deja, and then what I want you to do is whatever's on your spirit. This is your chance to speak to everyone about whatever you got on your spirit. It doesn't have to be about wellness. It doesn't have to be about. It could be whatever you feel that you need to get off your chest at this present moment.
Um, well, I will just continue my reign as Miss Senior. I am going to continue Wellness Wednesday. I'm actually interested in turning it into a little series where I invite Morgan students to come on, Morgan alum, or anybody who is just to speak about wellness and speak about the overall state of being healthy. So I will be beginning our series January of 2020. I also will be doing an unwind series on my campus where students will be able to have an outlet to get out of their rooms and come into the environment and do something active, such as hot yoga. We're going to do a Zumba class. So I will be doing that along with my court. And just one thing I want to say is make sure that you're looking out for for other people. Like it is so important to give yourself the love that you give the people to yourself, but it's also important to give it first, you know? Like we have to, especially as Black people, we have to be accountable for each other because we know what it is to be neglected. We know what it is to not always be the person that everyone is looking towards and looking to understand. So we have to be accountable for each other and love on each other without bounds. Love on each other. If there's somebody that you have been neglecting lately that you haven't been to, call them, talk to them. Just make sure that you are giving people their flowers while they're allowed to smell it. And I feel like once we learn that we have each other to lean on, then life will get a little bit easier. And that's
I
it.
appreciate that. So if people wanted to connect with you, how can they find you?
I am very active on Instagram. So my Instagram is underscore Deja DejaXMonet. My name is Deja Monet Jones. So my at name is underscore Deja X Monet. You can follow me on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, Deja Jones. Um, and yeah, Instagram and Facebook are sort of my outlets. Um, I have a LinkedIn. I don't know. That's more of a professional side. But I definitely encourage Instagram because that's a lot of times how we and my generation connect through direct messages, through posts, through Instagram stories. So definitely follow me on Instagram. And I am so open to anything, any venture. Like I'm just willing and ready. So yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna
follow me
reach
on
out to
Instagram.
you too because I have a couple of questions I want to ask because do well I can ask you on the air. Does Morgan State have spin bikes?
No, we don't.
We don't. Okay.
We don't. We
Okay.
don't have a facility that has spin bikes. But I know that there's something that we could do if we have enough time to prepare.
Okay. We gonna reach out to that and we're gonna try to figure that out. So, because I would love to experience the whole Morgan University experience. I come to that area, so let's the three of us try to figure that out. All right. Lotus,
Yes.
what's your parting words?
My parting thoughts are, if you want to reach me, you can reach me at Lotus Riche Ignites Life Coaching and Consulting. You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach me on Twitter. You can reach me on Instagram. You can reach me on YouTube. But you can reach me right here every Monday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also call me at 1-800-593-9733. Again, that's 1-800-593-9733. And I want to leave you with this. Since I talked about self-talk, I want to read something to you, which is called the Declaration of Self-Acceptance. And of course, Kevin sent this out earlier today, and it's by Mary Ann Williamson. And it says, I will not judge myself or degrade myself. I will not blame myself for mistakes that I made, but atone and have mercy on myself as I know God has mercy upon me. I will not compare myself to others, for I know God made me who I am for his purpose. I will not put myself down, for in doing so, I put down God's creation. I know that as I am kinder to myself, I will have more capacity for kindness to others, and they in turn will be kinder to me. I will be easier on myself than I have tended to be. For no one knows more than I do the pain that I have been through. I realize that to love myself is to love as God loves, for he loves the world, and that includes me. So love yourself and always use positive self.
Thank you.
Thank
Um,
you.
for me, you can reach me at Kevin Thornton on Facebook. Also, the Wellness Architect on my Facebook business page. On Instagram, it's going to be at the Wellness Architect, and on Twitter, it's Mr. Kevin Thornton. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. If you want to know anything more about health coaching or life coaching, send me a message and I'll gladly get back with you. Um, I'm working on some great things for 2020. We are going to be in discussion this week about what we're going to do for 2020 as a show, but also evidently the universe is pushing us to do a movement to different cities. So we're going to talk about that as well for ourselves, and also as we prepare to go to Africa in 2020 as well. So
Yes.
yeah, so it's an exciting time for the Wellness Architect Show and also Lotus Riche. Um, so I'm greatly appreciative of that. I want to give a shout out to my mentor, coach, uh, Robert Pruitt, who's out of the DMV area as well. He's getting ready to go on a little mini tour himself, and he's going to come to the ATL. So I'm trying to find a venue for him. And when he come to the venue, then I will be the guest speaker to introduce him to that. So I'm greatly appreciative of this opportunity that's come along with me. And what I would say is everything's a journey. And, I think a lot of times we get so scared, get so frustrated because the journey is not going as fast as we want it to be. And it's not about what we want to be is how God wanted for us. And during the journey it's gonna be some experiences that we need to achieve or experience that's gonna make us better and stronger as we get to a higher level in our journey to where we're going to be, our ultimate greatness. And we need these pitfalls and valleys and all the other kind of things to make us stronger, spiritually, mentally, and physically stronger. Because as we accomplish more, we're gonna need that spiritual and that mental strength. And you get that by going through the peaks and valleys in the journey. And so, when you each day you ask yourself, what am I supposed to learn today? If you go through a hard time at this present moment, your question should be asking God is, what's my lesson for this? So then therefore you can learn the lesson, get stronger from that, and grow from it. So with that being said, first of all, once again, I am truly grateful to Miss Deja Jones. You have really uh, opened my heart today with your authenticity, um, with you being free to express how you feel. I hear you that we as a generation need to be more willing to listen. So I was fully open and ready to listen to your whole journey, and so it just made me more inspired to do more than what I'm already doing. So I want you to know that you have affected me, and so I'm truly grateful to you. With that being said, I want everybody to be great. I want them to be authentic, and I want you to be unapologetically you on purpose. Thank you so much, and we are out. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deja.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Deja. Thanks, Kev.
Thank you,
Thank
Lotus.
you.
Welcome.